The air in the throne room crackled. You could almost taste the tension. Two kings sat side by side. King Ahab of Israel, a man often tangled in his own desires. Beside him, King Jehoshaphat of Judah, more cautious, more inclined to seek God. They faced a big question, a question of war. Should they march together against Ramoth Gilead? Ahab wanted his city back. He was eager for a fight, eager for a win. He had a plan, he had an ally. But Jehoshaphat, he hesitated. Something didn't feel quite right. Ahab, ever confident, paraded his prophets, 400 of them. Imagine that scene. A long line of men, all robed, all ready to speak, and speak they did. One after another they boomed with confidence. "Go up, for the Lord will deliver it into the king's hand." Their voices echoed through the grand hall. It was a symphony of agreement, a chorus of guaranteed victory. Surely with so many voices saying the same thing, it had to be true, right? It felt like a sure thing, a done deal. The outcome was clear, or so it seemed to most. But King Jehoshaphat felt a nudge, a small persistent question in his heart. Was this all? Was this the complete picture? He turned to Ahab, his voice perhaps a little quieter than the booming prophets cut through the noise. "Is there not still a prophet of the Lord here, that we may inquire of him?" Just one more opinion, one more voice. He sought something more than a popular opinion. He sought a true word, a word not shaped by desire for favor, but by the breath of God. He longed for clarity, not just consensus. Ahab's face soured, his enthusiasm dimmed, just a little. Oh, there was one more. Yes, but this one was different. "There is still one man, Micaiah the son of Imlah, by whom we may inquire of the Lord," Ahab admitted. His tone dripped with disdain. "But I hate him because he never prophesies good concerning me, but evil." Think about that. He hated the truth-teller, not because the prophet lied, but because the truth he told was uncomfortable. It didn't fit Ahab's plans. It didn't feed his ego. It was a bitter pill he refused to swallow. So Micaiah was summoned, the lone voice, the one Ahab kept on the sidelines. Why? Because Micaiah didn't sing from the king's song sheet. He didn't tell the king what he wanted to hear. He told the king what God had revealed, and often for a king like Ahab, that wasn't good news. It was a message that called for change, for repentance, for humility, things Ahab wasn't very good at. So he preferred the company of those who would flatter him, who would paint a rosy picture even if it was a lie. The messenger sent to fetch Micaiah had some friendly advice, or perhaps a gentle warning. "Look," he urged, "the words of the prophets with one accord are favorable to the king. Let your word be like the word of one of them and speak favorably. Just go along with it, Micaiah. Don't rock the boat. Don't make trouble for yourself. It's easier that way, safer that way. Everyone else is doing it. Why be the odd one out?" The pressure was on, the pressure to conform, the pressure to blend in, the pressure to tell a comfortable, convenient lie. When Micaiah stood before the two kings, Ahab posed the question, "Micaiah, shall we go to Ramoth Gilead to battle, or shall we refrain?" And Micaiah, perhaps with a hint of weariness, perhaps with a touch of irony, replied, "Go up and triumph. The Lord will give it into the hand of the king." He said the words Ahab wanted to hear, the words the other 400 prophets had proclaimed, but his heart wasn't in it. His tone, his eyes, something gave him away. Ahab knew. He knew this wasn't the real Micaiah. This wasn't the unvarnished truth. Ahab wasn't a fool, not entirely. He could sense the insincerity. He saw through the charade. "How many times shall I make you swear that you tell me nothing but the truth in the name of the Lord?" he demanded. He pushed for the real message. Even though he claimed to hate Micaiah's unwelcome truths, deep down, perhaps he knew their worth. Or perhaps he just wanted to prove Micaiah was indeed a purveyor of bad news. Either way, the stage was set. Micaiah had to choose. The easy, popular lie or the hard, dangerous truth. The moment hung heavy. And so Micaiah spoke. The real truth. The unfiltered vision from God. "I saw all Israel scattered on the mountains, as sheep that have no shepherd." Imagine that image. A flock, lost, vulnerable, leaderless. This was not a picture of victory. This was a forecast of disaster, of defeat, of death. He continued, "And the Lord said, 'These have no master. Let each return to his home in peace.'" The message was stark. The campaign would fail. The king's ambition would lead to ruin. There was no sugarcoating it now. This was the truth. Ahab turned to Jehoshaphat, a bitter "I told you so" in his eyes. "Did I not tell you that he would not prophesy good concerning me, but evil?" He heard the words, but he didn't hear the warning. He didn't see the mercy in the message, a chance to turn back. He only saw his own desires being thwarted. Micaiah then went further. He described a scene in heaven, the Lord on his throne, a lying spirit offering to deceive Ahab's prophets, to lure him to his doom. It was a chilling revelation. The other prophets? They were speaking under a powerful delusion, permitted by God himself. This was too much for one of the false prophets, Zedekiah. He had made iron horns, symbols of a mighty victory. He strode up to Micaiah, and he struck him. A slap across the face, a public humiliation. "Which way did the Spirit of the Lord go from me to speak to you?" Zedekiah mocked. The physical blow was meant to silence, to discredit, to assert dominance. How dare Micaiah contradict so many? How dare he challenge the popular narrative? The room buzzed with anger, with disbelief. Micaiah stood alone, his cheeks stinging, but his spirit unbroken. Micaiah's response to the blow was calm, yet firm. "Behold, you shall see on that day when you go into an inner chamber to hide yourself." He didn't retaliate in kind. He didn't back down. He simply stated what would come to pass. The truth would be vindicated. Those who peddled lies would eventually seek a hiding place from their consequences. His courage was not in physical strength. It was in the unwavering conviction of the truth he carried. He had delivered his message. The choice now lay with the kings, and the consequences would surely follow. King Ahab's reaction was swift, and it was harsh. He didn't pause to consider the prophecy. He didn't weigh the warning. He ordered Micaiah to be thrown into prison. "Put this fellow in prison and feed him with meager rations of bread and water until I come in peace." The bread of affliction, the water of affliction. That was to be Micaiah's reward for his honesty, for his integrity, for his courage. He was punished for speaking the truth when lies were far more welcome. His immediate future looked bleak, confined, and hungry. Think about that loneliness for a moment. 400 voices on one side, the king's power on that same side, and Micaiah on the other, all alone. It's a tough place to be, a lonely place. When everyone around you is shouting one thing and your heart, your conscience, your God is telling you another. It takes a special kind of strength to stand firm in that moment, to not buckle under the pressure, to not simply go with the flow to avoid trouble. Micaiah had that strength. He chose the narrow, difficult path of truth over the broad, easy road of deception. What is this thing called integrity? It's about wholeness. It's when your actions match your beliefs. It's being true to yourself and true to God, no matter the cost. It's easy to have integrity when it costs you nothing, when telling the truth makes you popular. But true integrity shines brightest in the dark, when the stakes are high, when the pressure is immense, when telling the truth means facing ridicule, rejection, or even punishment. Micaiah's integrity was forged in that fire. He knew what he had to say, and he said it. Where did Micaiah find such courage, such resolve? It wasn't from a desire to be contrary. It wasn't from a rebellious spirit. It came from a deep connection with God. He knew whose voice he was listening to. He knew whose message he was carrying. That gave him a foundation that couldn't be shaken by angry kings or mocking crowds. His loyalty was to a higher throne. His reward was not earthly comfort or royal favor. It was the peace of knowing he had been faithful. He had honored God. And that, my friend, is a prize beyond measure. You might think, that was then, kings and prophets, what does that have to do with me? But look closer. The world hasn't changed that much. The names and places are different. The thrones might be office chairs or social media platforms, but the pressure to conform? Oh, it's still here. The temptation to tell people what they want to hear instead of what is true and right? That's a daily battle for many of us. You face your own Ramoth-Gilead decisions. You encounter your own choruses of agreeable voices urging you down a path that feels wrong in your gut. Perhaps it's at work. Everyone is cutting a corner. It's just how things are done, they say. But you know it's not right. Or maybe it's with friends. A little gossip. A harmless lie to avoid an awkward situation. Or online, where popular opinion can feel like an avalanche, threatening to bury any dissenting voice. These are your Micaiah moments. Moments when you have to choose. Will you echo the crowd, or will you listen to that quieter voice? The voice of conscience, the voice of truth, the voice of God whispering to your heart. Standing for truth can feel lonely, just like it did for Micaiah. You might be misunderstood. You might be criticized. You might even lose something, a friendship, a promotion, a bit of popularity. It's not an easy path. Courage rarely is. But think about the alternative. The slow erosion of your own integrity. The quiet discomfort of a compromised conscience. The hollowness of living a life that isn't true to your deepest values. Is that a price you're willing to pay for an easier road? The path of integrity, though sometimes solitary, leads to a destination of peace. Micaiah's story echoes down through the centuries for a reason. It reminds us that one voice, rooted in truth, can be more powerful than a multitude of lies. It reminds us that integrity is a treasure worth guarding even when it's costly. You have that same capacity for courage within you. You can choose to be a person of honesty, a person of conviction. So when your moment comes, and it will, remember Micaiah. Stand tall, speak your truth with love and courage. Your voice matters, your integrity matters. It honors God, and it will, in the end, bring a reward that no prison can contain and no crowd can diminish. Subscribe to show your support. Thank you for watching. See you next time.